Heavenly Father, I thank you for tonight's conversation. I thank you that the Holy Spirit is always present in these events. And I thank you, Holy Spirit, for taking charge as you always do. May our words be seasoned with love, grace, and kindness to one another. And most of all, may your name be glorified always in our midst. Yes, okay. So, what can churches do to help us single people? Or are we singles being too lazy, leaving it all to the churches to sort us out? Okay, I see one hand up already, and I'm going to put Anthony, I'm going to make you a speaker. So you guys start, preparing your thoughts, and I'll read some comments as well. Anthony, you've got the mic. So if you click to unmute yourself, I hope you really wanted to speak, and I hope that wasn't a mistake because I can't see your mic coming on. Okay, so whilst Anthony's waiting to unmute himself, I'll read some comments. Marco says what singles can do is pray and ask their pastors to start singles ministries because most churches have no singles ministry. Okay, a few minutes ago I was having a conversation with my friend, and we had different perspectives, but we kind of agreed on certain things as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to see your hands up because honestly, I have a lot to say about this, but I want to hear from you guys. I don't want to hear my own voice this evening. So, Jody says, "Oh, I love listening to you always. Thank you so much." Whitney says, "Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you." Guys, Ebony says, "Churches should do more." Yes, I completely agree. Churches should do more. But are we singles being lazy? Are we being lazy? Okay, come on, guys. I want to see your hands going up. I don't know what's happening with Anthony. Anthony, if you're trying to unmute yourself, you click on the three buttons, and I think you should be able to unmute. Someone let Anthony know how to unmute himself. Come on, guys. I want to see the hands going up. I know you guys are thinking of.
Hello, do you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear now.
Okay, thank you very much for your good way for talking. And my English is not good, but I will try to do my best to
Okay.
say my message to all of you. What I mean in those day today, we live at the end time, and our Lord Jesus is coming back soon. And many people they don't go to church, so that's why church cannot do something for us because there is no one there,
Mm,
especially here in Norway where we live. If you go to church, you will just see like five people or six people, and most of them they're old people.
wow.
So I don't know in your country there maybe there are more young people. So in that way,
Mm,
church can do something. But the important thing, guys, we have a big problem today as a Christian. We forget why Jesus came to world, and Jesus he came to save us from the hell. Because if we don't make it to the eternal life with Jesus, that means we will end it to the hellfire. And to be
mm,
in hell is not only for one day, it's not only for 1 week, it's not only
yeah.
for 1 year, it's the
Hmm.
for billion of years. So
Yeah.
the important thing before to get someone to marry with you, we have to marry with Jesus first in our
I
heart.
com I
Yeah,
completely agree with you,
yeah,
Anthony. The first,
yeah.
before you think of meeting a spouse or being with
Mm.
somebody, you have to be connected with Jesus. Very, very important. I thank you so much for that wonderful perspective. And thank you for coming up, being the first one to come up on stage to be a speaker. Thank you, Anthony. I'll
You're
make you a
welcome.
listener now. Thank you. Okay, so whilst I'm waiting to see those hands going up, I can see comments going, and I saw one just now. Marie says most churches avoid us like a plague. Agree with single specific ministries. It would be helpful for our churches to play the matchmaker. I agree with you, Marie. I think I saw one from Trudy as well. Someone says problem is churches are too focused on married couples and family. I agree with you, Marco. Lizzie says we don't have any single ministry in my church. Well, there are girls but no males. Okay, I'm going to come to that. And Victoria, I don't know what it was you read, but I think you're saying that I think you were responding to Marco. Yes, my friend and I, we kind of disagreed, but in a nice way. She had another perspective. B, can you give me 1 minute? I will make you, you can speak in 1 minute when I'm done reading some comments. Yeah. Okay. So Trudy says most churches don't see the need to have a singles ministry. The assumption is that singles are called to serve. Trudy, You are my girl tonight. Yes, yes, I'm going to touch on that as well. The assumption is that singles are called to serve and it's lifelong servitude versus being single for a season. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you so much for those comments. I am going to ask B to unmute herself and speak, and then I will make Javi a speaker as well. So, B, can you let me know what your thoughts are on this?
Hi. I think it's a really interesting topic. I was part of a church where there was quite a big singles ministry, and calling to or being called to serve was a great part of it. Um, I mean, I kind of approach this, or my views on this are quite. I think just because it was such a focus, but the focus was like we went on encouragement dates, which were great, and they were interesting in terms of getting to know people and learning about others and, Christian dating. However, there was quite a big push for people to get married. It was seen as that was the end goal, and anyone that was single, that was what you needed to sort of be driving towards. And so there were times, and like I'm speaking from personal experience, when I was pursued by people within the church that I wasn't interested in, but the leadership were really pushing them onto me because that was what the end goal was, even if that person wasn't suited for me. So I think churches can help in terms of dating and in terms of encouragement, but if like church leaders have an agenda, regardless of whether a person is suited for somebody else and they just push them into a relationship, then it's not really, I think churches can help, but on the flip side, I think they can also be a hindrance.
Wow. B, I thank you so much for sharing this because what you've just shared, I've actually heard of this kind of thing going on. So there's that other side of things where, yes, there are some single ministries, in some churches. However, people are being pushed or forced into relationships that they don't necessarily think is for them. So thank you so much for sharing this perspective. So there's the other side as well. What can we singles do for ourselves? But thank you so much for sharing that. If you don't mind, do you want me to leave you on the stage? If you have anything else you want to share later on, after having spoken or somebody else has spoken, I can make you a speaker again. Is that okay?
I don't mind either way. You can put me back or you can leave me up here. I don't mind.
Okay, all right. I'll just mute you. I'll just mute you for now, okay? All
Great.
right. Thank you. Okay, Javi, just give me 2 seconds and I will read a few comments. Marco says, I agree with Marie. Another thing, ratio male to female is terrible. Too many younger single male, too few females and older. And okay, Tenacious Kiwi says, I think other faith leaders put more emphasis on marriage than Christians. I feel like the church is not doing enough. Okay, Tara says, my church has a divorce care. Ooh, I haven't yet been because I just got separated and I've recently learned it is also for we separated. Wow. Okay. Jody says, in my church, there are more girls than guys. Okay. 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 I'm trying to read some more comments. I have felt very accepted and loved in a local church in Peterborough. The church is about 50 in size and very hospitable to all people. I'm so, so happy for you, trustworthy ostrich. So I just before I let Javi speak, I'll just say, so I was having a conversation with my friend earlier on, and we're just talking because we both attended, I used to attend the same church as my friend in the past. But for me, I kind of felt like, just like Trudy said, I felt like the emphasis was like single serve, just keep serving. When you're serving, that person will come and find you where you are. And guys, I'm 59 years old today. When I got into the church, I was in my 30s and I waited and waited. I didn't do much. I didn't go out. I didn't, I served in many teams. And I'm not trying to knock back the leadership of the church. This is the other side of things I'm trying to say now, that what should singles be doing for themselves? Maybe I spend too much time concentrating on serving, which is not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't taking care of myself because I desire marriage. I could have gone out to other churches, visiting other churches. I could have organized events because I'm very good at doing stuff like that. But I spent so many of my years doing, church work, and I completely forgot myself. I don't know what your thoughts are about that, but like I said, I'm not here to knock or bash any churches or anything like that. I'm just wanting us to see, what's going on. Is there something missing? Are we missing something? Are they missing something? What can we do? Javi, you've got the microphone.
Yo, yo,
Hello.
happy birthday. Hope it went well,
It did.
firstly.
Thank you.
Good, good. And yeah, my point is really going to be simple. I mean, there's nothing wrong in, looking for a partner, but I think first things first, we we need to stop forcing it or letting others force things on us. If it comes, great, but um, we can have relationship with other things like friends, relationship with family, relationship with the gym. Basically, people are too. I don't want sound bad or nothing to intertwine with. Oh, I need to find a suitable partner so we can make the babies, and then have us, build a second generation or future generations. But it's better to focus, like you said, focus on yourself and have that relationship where you're not forcing it.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, in my church, there's a lot of single grandmas where, and compared to less young ladies, so don't want to
Just
be
hold on a minute. Did you just say single grandmas?
yeah.
Oh dear. Okay.
So don't want to be, going after the grandmas. So I thought, it's better to chill if it comes, great. And also, there's nothing wrong in going to speak to someone that you're interested in. If it works, great. If it doesn't, just chill, have a coffee, and just move on.
Okay, okay, Javi. Thank you so much for your perspective on that. Like people have mentioned, there's more male than female and stuff like that, and you said there's more grandmas in your church and there are, younger people. So that it brings me to that bit where I'm saying, so what should singles be doing for themselves? And honestly, it's not because we're trying to we're solely concentrating on I must be married, I want to get married. But the thing is, we desire marriage, but if nothing's happening, if we're in church and people are not coming in, whatever, what are we doing to help ourselves? Okay, I see more hands coming up. Give me 2 ticks. I'm just going to read a couple of comments and I will come right back to those hands. I've got Oscar and then I've got Trudy who will speak for a few minutes. So lots of people actually sharing that in their churches they do more for like married people than there are single stuff. Linda says my church had a couples dinner just before COVID, nothing for singles. And Ariel says, yeah, even in the States, all the singles in the church are mainly women, and the men that might be single don't speak to the single women. Okay, so what are we doing? What are we doing? So there's some men in your church, but they're not speaking to the single women. Okay, Tiwa says, as singles, need to put ourselves out there. We can't just sit around and wait around, go out and visit other churches and go to church events. Yes, I completely agree with you. Ian says, self love, love for family, community, and the focus can be switched. Yeah, I agree. However, people want to get married. So if you're doing this for so many years, I remember last time someone shared, that if you're doing something and it's not working, what about trying something different? Yeah. Okay. So enough of my comment reading. Oscar, do you want to share your views? And then Trudy, please share. Oscar, you got 1 minute. Oscar. Okay, if Oscar's waiting, Trudy, you want to share for 1 minute and then we'll come back to Oscar. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say you hit the nail right on the head when you were saying about, like we just can't be just constantly serving, serving, serving. We like, we do need to receive also in the end because, we're just emptying of ourselves. And yes, we do rely on the Lord to fill us up. But even when you read Paul and how, like in the Bible, how Paul, he was single, and he served the Lord dearly. And there were many times where he was in prison alone. But he always had the assemblies rallying around together and taking care of him and nurturing him. And in my personal experience, it felt like, well, you're just single, just keep serving. And I'm like, at the end of the day, it's like it gets exhausting. And I
Mm-hmm.
why a lot of people just don't bother going back to church. You know,
Mm.
just leave church is one reason being is because the onus is constantly placed on them to serve. You could be serving, and I've had this experience myself, and I'm in a wheelchair. So for me, I have to be careful with how I distribute my energy because I will get sick if I expend myself too much. And what I found was I was serving, actively at church. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, well, you need to come and serve in the children's ministry." And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm already serving and you want me to serve more, and I have a disability that I'm dealing with that sometimes it takes me away from church for several weeks or months at a time.
Mm.
Like I'm dealing with my shoulder right now. I haven't been to church in 3 months,
Mm.
right? Because of that. So it's not something that's consistent. So, to say to someone, well, just keep serving, 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 it gets exhausting after a while. And
Yeah.
after a while it's like, do I really belong? Like it's a different type of loneliness because it's almost like you're kind of like, oh well, it's good that you're here, but that's it. Like,
Yeah.
just kind of get pushed into that corner where it's like, well, hey, I exist, I have needs, I have desires, like that doesn't come into play at all.
Yeah. I
The
completely hear you, Trudy. I completely hear you. Like I said, I've heard, lots of people say, I've heard it said to me, just keep serving. Whilst you're serving, that person will turn up. And there's nothing wrong in saying that. But when you just keep saying that, and almost sometimes you almost feel like, are these people really being sensitive to how you feel about the fact that you desire to be married? And they just keep churning these same words at you all the time. So I think
yeah,
sometimes people need to be a bit more sensitive. So I completely agree with you, Trudy. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'll probably bring you back up to speak again. Let me just take a few more comments and then I will I think he was Nick, then Tolu will speak. So Jody says, I've heard as a single woman that we should always say yes to any level of serving because we don't have a husband or kids. It implies we have nothing else going on if not doing family life. Wow. Okay. Anyway, we're all saying the same thing. So very quickly, let me just reset the room. Thank you to those of you who've just joined recently. I'm sure you can see the topic pinned. We're talking this evening about can the church do more for singles, or should singles be doing more for themselves? What are your thoughts on this? And I'm sure if you're reading the comments, you will see lots and lots and lots of different perspectives on this topic. So please feel free to raise your hand, come up on stage if you want to speak, and we love feedback here. So if you want to start giving your feedback about the topic or anything you want to see come your way next week, please let me know by dropping your feedback now. So Nick, do you want to share very quickly your thoughts on this topic today, and then Tolu? Nick?
Yes. Hello. Hello. Thanks. Yeah. Really, really great type of discussion and around churches. And I know that when I was in when I was actually in my early 20s, and stuff like that, and I actually had just come out of, I'd actually come out of a really intense relationship, and I'd obviously had a lot of things going on. One of them being like my professional football career had just come to an end, because of an injury and stuff. And so I was kind of dealing with like a lot of stuff. And then I kind of met someone and, within the church, but I just didn't feel, something didn't feel right, about pursuing it. And it almost was like I kind of needed people to kind of point me, for example, in like the right direction. Instead, that didn't really happen. I was being more pushed, or I would say it was also a form of abuse. I obviously since left that church simply because of just their behavior. And obviously now, obviously being a life and relationship coach, I know what's healthy and what's not. So I just wouldn't want people to make for example, to make the same mistakes that I actually made. And I think that what churches sometimes do, and I've noticed this at like a number, they'll always look after the leaders. So I was listening to a comment down, I think it was Maggie that put it, where she was talking about just in terms of what, in terms of church hopping and things like that. And that at the end of the day, like, I mean, I find the church isn't really gonna look out for you. You're almost on your own when you go in. And I think Christians are very naive at times, because they have this perception that the church is going to like do it for them. And it's just, and it's like even what you were saying, Sola, where you're saying, like, I mean, when you got to a certain age, and it's like because sometimes it's like, I mean, just, I think it's kind of like that scripture that says, the Christians are more what does it say, are lesser than are not as shrewd as the people, the people of the light are not as shrewd as the people in the darkness. You know what I mean? And so they, at the end of the day, I don't think you have to answer to a church, because at the end of the day, if you're giving, like, for example, contribution, you know what I mean? Unless you're a leader, churches do not look after people unless they're a leader, because that's it's to their benefit for them to do that. And so, and I can tell you this, my daughter is in the teen ministry in the church she's in, and they will look after her because she's an asset to them. And so they will serve her, but anybody else other than that, no. I don't believe so. No.
So Nick, thank you for your perspective on this. I mean, the church I attended, I believe they took care of everybody, but I think sometimes people kind of like miss, certain aspects of, like, other people within the church, and some, I don't think they do it intentionally. I think sometimes
not
maybe
at all.
people,
I would agree with that. I would agree. I don't think there's any ill intent. But what I'm saying is that there is a narrative where, I mean, because for you to get that person so if you don't want to settle, right, then, well, you need, because the only person, like, one of the things I learned as a player, do you know what I mean? Like, when I was doing my own contract negotiations, I was being offered, I think it was like 65 grand a year, right? And I'm thinking at 19, I'm like, no, I know my value. And so they turn around and they says, oh, well, how much do you want then? So then they're asking me, so then it becomes, what's your value? And I said to them, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you go away and figure out an offer as to what you think that is. And then I was like, okay, no problem. So then they come back, and I took them from like 65 to over to almost 200K.
Good on you, Nick. Good on you.
That's the value. So I'm saying to people, don't settle and go for what you want. And if that means church hopping, go for it.
Good on you. Good on you. Thank you so much, Nick. I truly appreciate your time for sharing with us. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, I just made you a listener now, just so I can give some other people time to speak. But if you want to speak later on and we have time, I'll bring you back up. I can see loads of comments. Tiwa says, as singles, we need to put ourselves out there. We can't sit around. I think I saw a comment from, I think it was Maggie earlier on. She goes, I wondered about church hopping. It's discouraged in my church, but there are no singles in my church. So I think visiting other churches is a good idea. I completely agree with you. Tiffany says, how do we get over the awkwardness of visiting other churches? Come on, just put on your clothes and go. You're going to church. No one's going to stop you at the door and say, hey, what are you doing here? People always ask why you're visiting other churches. It doesn't sound great to announce we're looking for no, Tiffany, you're not going to go with a sign on your head saying I'm looking for other singles. Just go and visit another church and just worship with them. You just never know. I don't think anyone's going to begrudge you for stepping into that church. And hey, you just never know. Maybe when you step in there, God could just have the person there for you. So please, I encourage you, do visit other churches. Okay, I see some hands going up. For those of you who've just joined, I thank you for joining. Today we're talking about what can churches do for singles. Should singles be doing much more? I have Fumilai on the stage, but I will call on Tolu. Tolu, do you want to share your views very quickly, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much. First off, this topic is so good. I'm so glad you picked it. I mean, a lot has been said. I think I'll just maybe speak from my own perspective. I feel like we're all built for relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Just natural for us to have a craving to want to actually share our lives with someone. And if that, I mean, I feel like taking it easy sometimes can also make you intentionally dissuade yourself from actually the opportunity of enjoying life shared with someone. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having that yearning to be with someone, because to be honest, that's the way we're created. I 100% agree that churches should do more for singles. Like, I'm in a situation where my church is actually trying to do their best, but I know that the leadership has a capacity issue. And I recently just took it upon myself to actually do more events for single people in my church. I feel like, to your point, like sometimes I feel like what we tend to do a lot as Christians, that is my experience, is that we tend to put a lot of the caring on a small group of people. And sometimes we forget that there's actually a lot of us. And the church doesn't function when it's only just one person doing everything. I feel like we all have a part to play in the caring, in the loving, in just the nurturing of ourselves. And sometimes it actually, not sometimes, I think it very much does come down to us to actually take that step out. Like you said, there's nothing wrong with going to other churches. I've been to other churches to socialize. If I hear of a Christian event happening somewhere, I'm going to go. Like, being on this dating app is a way of also interacting with other Christians as well. Like, we have to know that it's perfectly okay to have a social life. It doesn't make us unchristian. In fact, relating with others is how we extend our relationship with God as well. So, I mean, in this season of being single is super hard because the loneliness sets in. There's so many emotions that come in. But I think for me personally, what gets me through is my conversations with God, because I'm always just checking, like, is this still for me? Like, do you want me to be in a relationship with someone? Am I okay to desire it? And I keep getting affirmations that yes, yes, and yes. And I feel like if you keep doing that for yourself, it still puts you right. And don't limit yourself to experiencing God elsewhere, because God is not limited to only our churches. There's a reason why He's everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my take on it.
Thank you so much, Tolu. I just want to congratulate you for actually taking it upon yourself to actually, do something about the singles ministry in your church, because this is what I'm talking about. People are sitting down waiting for other people to do it when they can make it happen themselves. Thank you so much, Tolu, for your, for sharing this. And I hope this will encourage other people that we can actually do this ourselves. And if you say you are shy, but you have the ideas within you, then get the person who you know is, the one who can go about talking to other people and organize something, do something. And like Tolu said, it's not a sin to be sociable. It's not a sin to actually desire these things. I think sometimes Christians, we just make this journey just so boring by saying, oh, we just want to fast and pray. And so, Jesus never said we should spend all our days, with, fasting and praying. What about meeting people? Jesus went about socializing with people. How did he get his disciples if he didn't sort of like look around? He wouldn't have met these people. So I hope that kind of helps. Okay, thank you so much, Tolu. The comments are coming in. Tina says, why can't Christians form friendships? Tina, I completely agree with you. Like what we're doing right here, I believe loads of friendships have been formed, just, people coming here every Wednesday. And talking about friendships, what happened last week? For those of you who were here last week, I saw something going on in the chat. I don't know whether we had like a love connection, but last week there was something going on in the chat. I kind of missed a whole lot of of what was the conversation, but I believe two people were chatting with each other. So friendships can be formed anywhere, and then you never know what will happen from there. So thank you so much, Tolu. I'm going to make you a listener. Please stay. If you have anything else to share with us, I'll be grateful to have you come back. So I think it was Oscar who went down and then came back up. Oscar, if you can unmute yourself and speak for a few minutes, please.
Yes, hello. My name is Oscar. I'm sorry about earlier. It popped up too fast the first time in sharing, so I couldn't find the unmute button. But I just wanted to share about serving. So don't think that.
Oscar, one moment. Your sound is not very clear. I don't know whether I don't know if anybody else can hear that. Your sound's not very clear.
Okay, do you hear me better now?
Okay, yeah. So
All
you're
right.
talking about serving as to in relation to tonight's topic?
Yes, yes. It's a great topic, by the way. I just wanted to share that don't let serving take you out of way of loving yourself, because sometimes we just want to serve and we forget that we have a life and we have a purpose in this life. And in order to manifest, we should, do our homework. We should move and look for other ways if something is not working out. And I totally agree about visiting other churches. That definitely opened my mind a little more, and I'm gonna have to start doing that myself.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I applaud you for saying this. And honestly, I think a lot of people on here should do the same as well. And if you say you're too shy to go, thank you so much for that, sharing that, Oscar. If you're someone who's like someone said earlier on, I would feel a bit awkward getting to the church and they say, what are you doing here? Why don't you go with a friend? Go with a friend, go with a group of friends, go and visit. You're going to a place to meet other believers. So please go. Don't just sort of like, put yourself in a box. Go out there and make
Yes,
friends.
I agree. Yes,
Yeah,
I
make
definitely
friends.
agree. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Oscar. Thank you so much for that.
All
Okay.
right.
So I think it was Fumilayo, and then we'll go to Mixi, and then B's back on the stage. So Fumilayo, then Mixi, and then B, and then I got someone with their hands up as well. So Fumilayo.
Hi, thank you very much. I was just going to say that, like in my church, what we try to do is we haven't got a lot of single people, a lot of young, like teenagers, young people, and then older people. But what we do try to encourage is loads of social activities, fellowship, so that people can come together. And so, regardless of age, it's about building that community of Christian brothers and sisters. And then, if by any chance somebody knows somebody, like, oh, they see a single person at church, oh, I've got a friend, I've got an uncle, I've got a brother, I've got somebody that they can introduce you. But it's about us being out there, fellowshipping rather than waiting. And then another thing is like about what we try to do is if you see a need in a church, speak to us, and then we can try and if you think you've got enough people to meet that need, then just do it. Is it going to be like dinner time, having like dinner meals for the under 30s, having a movie night for the singles, for whatever it is, bring it to us and then we'll try and put it together if there is a need. And I think it's also important to look into context of whatever church we're in. If you're in a church, I was in a church before my current church where I was the only single person, but I was never made to feel less than because we had so many social activities for us to do. So it is about building, for me, it's about building that my own social skills. And then maybe sooner or later, somebody will say, oh, I've got a single friend from Elayo. Do you want to meet her? She comes to this, she comes to that. So I think we can help ourselves by just being out there in church, whatever activity is taking place. And like I think Tolu said, if you see a need, just go forward, do a singles event. We don't have to wait for a pastor. I'm a priest in my church, and we ask people, what do you want us to do? And we'll do it.
Thank you so much, Fumilayo. If you see a need, go out there and do it yourself. If you can't do it yourself, get someone to do it with you. And like she said, you may be in a church where there's a lot of old people. I think I was Happy who said earlier on grandmas. Happy, you'll be amazed. Grandma could have a lovely girl, daughter, niece, granddaughter, or somebody, and say, you know what, there's this lovely young man in my church. Do you want to? So don't, you just never know. Make yourself seen. Let people see you, what you're doing, and you just never know. And I see Javi's hand has gone up straight away, like, ooh, I like what you're saying right there. Okay, Javi, I'll bring you back on stage, but I need to let two other people speak before I do that. I'm just going to take a couple of comments very quickly and welcome those of you joining. Now, the topic is, can churches do more for singles? Singles, can we be doing more for ourselves as well? And Nurturing Panther says they announce newcomers in my church. They should announce singles. Maybe they should so maybe so they can mingle. I completely agree with you, but then again, some people will probably say they're too shy to actually stand up. So Marcus says, okay, we need singles to fellowship in hope of marriage, so church membership can grow kids. Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to read a few more comments. Jennifer says, I went to a brilliant quiz night in a London church. My knowledge was appreciated by younger team members. Our team name was, I thought this was speed dating. Oh, that's quite funny. I like that. So, come on, guys, meet. If you have friends like in your church, meet with other people from other churches, form little groups, friendships. You just never know where something would happen. Don't leave it to the pastors or the ministers to make it happen for you. Okay. So I think it was Mixie who came first, and then I will have Sandy. I'm not sure where Sandy came from. So I'll have Mixie and then I'll have Pat and Sandy.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
So I want to just say that we should also just be careful with our hearts while we are going to church, because I remember there was a season where I was a bit desperate in finding a partner, and so I'd go to church every Sunday in hopes that I'll meet somebody at church. But unfortunately, or fortunately, either ways, my church is very family. Is more of a family church, so in the sense that it's mostly families. So people there barely any singles, and all the singles are usually women. And I see that that's kind of a pandemic. Well, it's not really a pandemic, but it's kind of the situation in most churches now, where you have only single ladies and very few single men. And so I was getting a bit disappointed every Sunday, and then at some point I was like, oh, why am I even going? And the Holy Spirit had to check my heart and be like, are you going to look for a man, or are you coming for me?
Hmm.
And that really hit me, in the sense that, actually, I should be going to church for God,
Mhm.
and not be church hopping to look for somebody or to try and mingle.
Mhm.
It's okay to go to after church services to mingle, but if you're just changing churches in search of a partner, I think you're kind of missing the point of Christianity, because at the end of the day, it could even be in your church that the right person will come and meet you, and you could have been church hopping that day. And,
Mm.
maybe he would be a guest minister or someone accompanying the guest minister or something, and just that day you were not there.
Mm.
And I found in just, when they say, just serve and you'll meet, like, I just didn't do that until I felt convicted in my spirit to, help with the kids ministry or help in this ministry. I
Mm.
think it's also important to not carry on service unless God called you to it,
Yeah.
because a lot of Christians, we have a good heart and we just want to help because there's a lot of lacks in churches, and
Mm.
not many people want to actually serve. People just come and fill the chairs and they leave. But those who actually serve are very few. And so usually the few that are left serving are stretched out. And I think it's important that we also set healthy boundaries, that I'm only available one Sunday to a month or two Sundays a month to serve, and nothing more. Even if you're around, you also are allowed to just sit in the chair.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I had a period where I had a burnout and left. I didn't want to ever serve in a church again until God called me back into it. But
Wow.
I realized afterwards that I'm doing this for God. Your heart has to be for God. It's an expression of our love for God, and not our expression of love to our pastor.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, that we just check our hearts while trying to date. So that's
Yeah.
it for me.
Thank you so much, Mixie. It's very important that we check our hearts. However, I will also say that we are all at different stages in our lives. So let's be mindful. We're all at very different stages in our lives, in our Christian walk, age-wise and all that. So what may work for A may not work for B. Where somebody is at, this point in their life may not be the same point that another person is. So we need to check the dynamics. So what's working for, and excuse me, I'm not trying to sound ageist here now. What may be working for a 16-year-old may not work for a 49-year-old or a 39-year-old. So we need to check all of these things, because our journeys are different. Yes, our walk with Christ is a personal relationship with Christ, and where we're coming from, our backgrounds and all those kind of things. We need to sort of like have all of those things in check. So I see someone said, I can't understand why Christians can't form healthy friendships. Why do so many need marriage? Yes, I completely agree with you, Tina. Christians should form healthy friendships. However, people desire marriage, and sometimes people talking about their desire may not necessarily mean that, they're desperate or they can't form healthy relationships. This is just what I'm saying, because I think sometimes, this actually gets thrown at single people. Why don't you just serve? Why don't you just go out and make friends? And people are actually doing that, but people are also saying, I've been doing this for so long, I'm not meeting anybody. And that's why we brought this topic to the table. Can churches do more, or should singles be doing more for themselves? So thank you so much, Mixie, for sharing your views on this. I will ask Sandy, for those of you who just joined, thank you for joining. It's not too late in the conversation to raise your hand to come up on stage. We are talking about, can churches do more? Singles, what can you do more? Please read the comment area. I'm sure you will get a whole lot of stuff in there that maybe I have missed. I can't read them all. So Pat, do you want to speak? And then Sandy, I can still see B on there. B, please give me 2 ticks. And once Pat is finished, we'll have Sandy and then you. Pat. Hello, Pat, in the lovely purple dress. Okay, if Pat is still trying to figure out how to unmute herself, Sandy, do you want to speak? And then...
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself. This is my first time on the platform.
Okay, you have 1 minute to share your views.
Yes, I feel the church can do more,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not necessarily talking for our set now. I'm talking for the coming generation now, because if this generation is finding it a bit, the next ones coming up, or the people coming up behind us or something like that, hopefully it won't be as challenging as we are. But what I just wanted to...
Can I just stop you a minute? So you said you're not speaking for us now. You're speaking for the future generation.
Not necessarily, not necessarily for us now, but for those to come, because I've kind of ruled it out that the church helping singles out now, or something like that.
Oh, you think the church is helping people now?
No, they are not. I've given up on the church helping.
Oh, you've given up. Okay, so I was just trying to understand that. Sorry for actually butting in, because you said you're thinking about the future generation. Okay. So I'll hear what you have to say. We'll go on.
Yeah, so I was just trying to say that the church services, if I've noticed a pattern that the church services, is catered to women. As long as you're a female, the church services are catered to women, in the sense that the sermon, the worship song, what have you, is always catered to women. If you're not, why is it the case that we've already mentioned it now, that it's always women that's in the church, that's the ratio is always women that is usually in the church. Even the teenagers, if you ask, where is your daughter? You'll find the daughters in the church. But then when you ask, where is your son? Even the minister's children, you ask them, where is your son? They'll give an excuse, but the daughters are always available. When they're talking, they tell the girls, keep yourself, guard yourself, do this, do that. And we're already doing that. But then they don't do the same for the men. So why is it that we women were compelled to attend church services, or we attend to attend church? But then the men seem that, okay, yes, it's okay for them to just skip church service. And it starts from the youth. Am I making some points here? So
yes,
that's why I'm saying that the youth that is coming up now, why is it, even now, why is it that the men are absent in church? If I call my girlfriends, or if I call my friends that, oh, my church is having a program, they'll gladly come. How come are the men, or the men not attend? If there is a program, why are the men not inviting their fellow friends as well to attend the church service?
Pat, you have just mentioned something that is, I completely agree with you, because most times you see women. Where are the men? So I'm glad you actually shared this. So men in the audience, where are the men? Are you guys inviting your friends to church, or are you just going to church all by yourself? Because women are very good at evangelizing. And please don't get me wrong, men do the same as well. Don't get me wrong. And I need some men to actually come up on stage and tell me if I'm wrong, or I'm open to correction.
It's very few men. Sorry, it's very few men, because I knew Christ from the very beginning. I knew God from jump. But then, the men, they stray away. Some men, it's very rare that some men will actually stay in the church. They will actually stay. Like I said, it's the minister's church and children as well, you find that, you think that, oh, that's the ones you even have to watch out for. That, they'll give an excuse. But, when you see all these WhatsApp messages, Christian WhatsApp messages or something like that, saying girls this, you will notice that they talk about the girls. Why is it not equal footing? Because it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just saying. The ministration, they'll tell you, oh, you're supposed to do this, or you're supposed to do that, but they're talking to women. Why are they not talking to men?
Yeah.
We're already
Yeah.
in the church. We already, so that's something that frustrates me a bit. But then I'm just trying to say now that if, they need to start picking up the youth,
Yeah.
because I noticed that in that boys, teenage boys, when the children are very young, they attend church, no problem. But when they now start getting older now, boys, they now think, oh, it's out of date to go to church.
I hear
Why is that?
I hear you. I hear you.
So parents need to pray. Those that are parents that have boys, they really need to pray for the sons. Because I don't understand why the girls have no problem attending
Yeah.
church. But then,
Pat, thank you so much for sharing this. This is really, really true, because if the parents are now encouraging the younger generation boys to go to church, then we will have more men in church. Then the women will find, we'll have men that they can actually form good, healthy friendships with, and marriages can come out of that. Thank you so much for sharing this. I would like to hear from a man on this. So
thank you.
thank you for sharing, and thank you for coming up. You said it's your first time. Thank you for actually sharing your views, and from a completely different angle that I didn't even think of. Thank you so much, Pat. I appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, I see Simon and Javi. I just want to read a comment I saw very quickly. Please give me 2 ticks, guys, and I'll bring you back on stage. Enjoying Dolphin said, does SALT host events to meet people in person? Yes, SALT does. They do host something called third wheel dates. I think I'm not sure how it works, but I don't know if you have to apply for it. But if you maybe contact the SALT team, if you're actually on the dating app, they will let you know how that works. But SALT are doing everything to get Christian singles to meet. Trust me. I see lots of comments going on. Please, if people don't agree with your views, let's keep it sweet. Let's keep it. Let's offer grace. Not everyone's gonna agree. Not everyone. I mean, most people here, have their own views on the topic. Some people desire marriage. Some people may not desire marriage. Some people may have given up. Life happens. We're not here to knock back anybody's views or anything like that. So please, let's just keep it sweet, between ourselves. Okay. So, Sandy, do you want to speak? B, I still see you there. Please forgive me. I'm just trying to get people who haven't spoken to share something. And after Sandy, B, I will let you speak, and then Simon. Sandy. If Sandy doesn't come on in a minute, I will get Simon to speak, and then B can speak. I see Harry's hand up. Okay, Simon, do you want to share very quickly, please?
Well, morning, Sola. Morning, everyone from Melbourne, Australia. I think an issue that we've touched on is a really significant one in terms of single men and the church. And to be honest, it's one of the biggest issues facing the church that very few people are talking about and let alone responding to. The sad reality is, for a lot of young adult men, they will walk into a church, they will not have anyone welcome them. They will find the experience of a particularly intimate expression of worship in song difficult for them, and often not have anyone engage with them, and then leave and not return. So I think it's a conversation and action that we really need to shape within our church communities. And I've heard about people talking about contributing to particular ways and events within their church. I think we also need to be intentional about fostering a network outside our own local church community as well, of single Christians who are in a similar experience of life, who are seeking to be their best and live out the plans and the purposes to which God has called them in their singleness. And also too, just being intentional about shaping a response from ministry teams within our local church, whose experience of ministry is invariably shaped by nuclear family, because they're often married, they often have children, and nuclear family tends to be the organising principle on which the local church exists. So being in that community, but being willing to meet with your church leadership and shape conversation and action around singleness, because the reality is that ever so more a greater proportion of the of the population generally, but also the Christian population is single now, and it's not just a seniors phenomenon. It's younger people, and particularly in their 30s and 40s now, who have been, for instance, professional, who have pursued a range of things in life, and perhaps marriage for them isn't a high priority as it was in previous generations. So making your church leadership aware of the issues facing singleness, and also developing some common threads around the discussion. What I share with someone who is married is that I want every day to die to self and to live for the plans and purposes to which God has called me. I do that in my singleness. Married people do that within the context of marriage. It's just a different context. So having conversation around how that works out in a different context, I think, is really helpful too.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Simon. One thing I picked up there, you said make the church leadership aware. And you also talked about young men coming in but not having anyone to welcome them. Pat, what Pat shared earlier on, very, very important, that we try and get the young men into church. But then, like Simon said, when the young men come, is there anyone there to welcome them so they don't sort of go back? So many things to share there. Thank you so much. I hope you guys are picking up on all that's been shared and you can take all of this back to your churches or you do something about it. Thank you to all of those people who've come on to speak. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think the next person was Sandy, but if Sandy is not able to speak, B, can you share? Sandy, are you able to unmute? And if not, B, do you want to share very quickly? And then I will have Habi, if you don't mind, I'll have Marilyn because she hasn't spoken. B, do you want to speak? Are you there?
Yep, hi. Yeah,
Hi.
hi again. Just really quick, I thought Pat and I think it was Simon made some really good points about
Mhm.
the lack of men in church. And I think one of the points that Pat made was that men are not necessarily, or some of the men that she's encountered have not been consistent in their journey. I just sort of wanted to say that everybody's got a different walk and a different path, and God leads them in different ways.
Yep.
So, it may be, the men that aren't there, they need to go through many other things in life before they find their way back to God.
Mm.
But also, I just think as well, I think some other people have shared about visiting other churches. And I mean, in terms of spiritual enlightening and, hearing preaching from a different perspective and a different arena, and also meeting other like-minded Christians, like visiting other churches could be, part of everybody's walk. So even if a church is discouraging it, I think as Christians, we should be, our walk and our journey and our faith is in our own hands. So even if the church that we are attending is against it, it's down to us what we do to strengthen ourselves, fellowship with other Christians and meet other like-minded people. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, B. I completely agree with you. Our walk, our journey, our walk with God, everything, mine to yours may be different. You probably got to know Christ maybe 10 years ago, somebody else maybe 1 year ago. So everyone's on a different, path right now. So we just have to know where we are. But most importantly, let's lean on the Holy Spirit. If he says go visit another church, please get up and go because you just don't know what he wants you to learn from the other church. Not necessarily that you're going there to meet somebody, and if it happens that you meet somebody, oh good. Okay, so thank you so much, B. Thank you so much for coming back. I'll just make you a listener. I'm just going to read some comments very quickly. And the Panda says, even on these talks, there are less men compared to women. Well, people say there's lots of women, more women in the world than there are men. So yeah, I can see you guys are all sharing and chatting with each other there. So I don't need to read out all of your comments, but I'm enjoying seeing them coming through. Forgive me if I haven't sort of like picked on your comment, not because I'm ignoring you. I'm just picking on the ones I just sort of like catch my eye as I'm scrolling because you guys have got very fast fingers. Okay, so Marilyn, do you want to share very quickly? And then I'll have Harvey. Sandy, if you're still there, please click on the 3 buttons and I think it'll show you how to unmute. So Marilyn, do you want to share like for a minute? I'm looking at time as well. Marilyn, I can see your big bright smile. I want to hear your voice.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, this is really a very amazing conversation. So, can churches do more for singles? I think yes, but I'm taking like it's like a two-way street. I think the churches can do a lot, but then we as individuals can also do a lot because we are the church as well. We make up the church, so I feel like we also have a part to play. But I think there's two things. Churches can do things in terms of hosting events, certain type of events, but there's other things that I've always wondered. Things like pastors, elders, leaders. Um, they must know people in their environment that are also single, like in their private environment, that are also very good Christian women or men. And sometimes there's people serving and they're also in leadership positions, maybe a worship leader or a steward or a welcome team somebody. Or and I sometimes wonder how we're not more interwoven as a bigger Christian community and look out for each other in that way, not only for the people that step into the building itself, but also like, you know, weaving just the bigger Christian family. So that's one thing I always wonder about. And then the events, things like single events, if you do that as a church. I've been to a speed dating event, for instance, before in a church that I used to go to. And it's good to then mix all kinds of ages. So you don't have like a young woman sitting in front of a much older gentleman or something like that. It needs to be, you know, much more variety of people there. So it needs to be properly planned out so that it doesn't become awkward. But you could also do things like movie nights or walking outside or worship nights or just any type of events just to bring people together. But that's something that the church can orchestrate and do, but that's also something that people who are in the church can actually also you know, put together. So another way of serving is asking maybe an elder or a leader, is this something I can do in Sunday after church or something like that? Could I organize that? And that's a way that we could also play a part.
Yeah. I completely hear you and agree with you, Marilyn. And I think somebody who came up actually did say that, she took it upon herself to actually organize something. There are loads of things that we can do. Speak to the pastor, even if the pastor has not thought about it, the pastor can say, oh yeah, you go ahead and do it. The church I used to attend, I used to head the drama team. I was in the choir. I did all kinds of things. And, I actually love organizing events. I'll speak about that later on. But thank you so much for sharing, Marilyn, your views on this topic. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
No
I'll just
problem.
make you a
Thank you.
listener again. Yeah, thank you. Okay, just read some comment very quickly. So Marie says, Gemma Chloe, how goes it with you and the fella? Yes, that's the one I was talking about. The guy from Australia. What happened? So are we going to have our first Say It Loud wedding? Are we going to all have to travel down under? So please let us know. So I see lots of comments going. You guys are chatting away, encouraging each other. I hope, and not fighting amongst each other. And no, I can't see any of that. There we come here to love on each other. Yeah. Okay, so let me see if I can find it. Panda says the little part I do is encourage my nephews and nieces to stay closer to God. One of my nephews who is 16 goes to church. Fantastic. And asks his dad to take him to church. That's lovely. Maggie says we shouldn't all only fellowship within our church circle. We should all fellowship within the body of Christ. I agree. My cousin who's right here, she actually attends something called the Big Church Festival. They have all kinds of things. My church organizes something as well. And it's not just for my church, they open it to everyone. And it's usually they go off to like some big, field somewhere in Surrey, for those of you who live in the UK. And it's like 3 days, and you get to meet lots of people. I have never been. I am attending next year, not because I want to go there and meet somebody, but guess what? If I meet somebody there, hey ho, is it Kirk Franklin who says, GP, are you with me? Oh yeah, we're at the church, we ain't going nowhere. No, go out. Mingle with people, make friends, not necessarily because you want to meet somebody, but if that is your desire to meet somebody, go out there and meet people. Make yourselves friendly, and you never know where you meet that person. Okay, Javi, I have had you up there. Javi, do you want to speak very quickly? And we'll have Zoe.
Yeah, this is going to be real quick because I know Zoe wants to talk, and then I'm just checking the time as well.
Yeah.
Just to answer the question why boys or girls are not in the church, I would just talk about boys. It's that we need to remember a church is not a building; it's a group of people meeting, whether it be in a coffee shop or mixed martial arts or the gym I'm just saying those things because I run a kind of like a Bible meetup or like a like a gym Bible meetups, and just really talk to my friends and new people, and just engage with them to see where they are,
Hmm.
what they're feeling, and then talk whenever the time is right. Just talk to them or invite them to a home group first, because they might not be ready for church. It's like sowing seeds before. That's how I came to faith, because I was born in a Sikh background, and then I came to faith coming to 4 years now. So
Mm.
we need to remember that a church is a building, but a real home group is where it all begins.
Yeah, I agree with you, Harvey. Church is not a building. As you were speaking, I just remembered when COVID happened. You guys remember? Like it feels like it never happened, but it did happen. We all didn't go into a building. We were all on Zoom. We found other ways to meet people. I met people from different parts of the world. I was running a Zoom event, where people just came every Friday to just chat, and stuff like that. So church is not a building. Go out there and meet people, form friendships. If you want to be friendly, make yourself friendly. Or if you want to have friends, make yourself friendly. Is that how the saying goes? Something like that. Thank you, Javi, for sharing that. Thank you. Zoe, do you want to share for a few minutes? And then we'll take some more comments. Thank you,
Hi,
guys.
hi, Shola.
Hello.
Good evening, all. Um, I was just going to share that I kind of liked what Marilyn said, and sort of agreed with Marilyn in terms of like we are the church. So when I saw I suppose the topic, what can what can churches do more for things? Like I see that as we are the church. If we want to do more for ourselves, let's go for it, because I suppose it's us. We're passionate about it, and I'm not particularly upset with the church, like people, or because I guess I think people who are maybe not single, also their life is quite full with certain things. Like our lives can be really quite full with certain things. So, but on the topic, side note about less men in church, I was listening to a podcast. And from a Christian perspective, and these dudes were saying that not that many men in church, because like some of the worship songs, like they're all like sort of like but actually men want to be like, oh, Jesus is Lord, sort of really quite hench or whatever. So, and it's just a bit, and then the other thing they've mentioned was, we just want to, like, some people think that men can't submit, but like we as men, obviously this is, maybe getting this way wrong, but this is just sort of paraphrasing what these dudes on the podcast were saying, was we as men, we want to submit, we love to submit, but to men that we respect. So, so for men, they need to maybe see other men like in leadership positions, and not just all these lovely women who are running all these small groups, and it's like, yeah, that's good, but where the other dudes at, and then I think a final thing they said was also the message. It's like, yeah, forgiveness is great, but like talk to me about prosperity. Like I want to hear about that, like from a man's point of view. So yeah, those are some things I was just going to share. But thanks very much, Sola, for hosting.
Great. Thank you.
Shola, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you so much for sharing your views. Thank you for coming up. Just looking at the time, it's running up to time for us to get off the platform, but don't jump off in a hurry. Okay. For those of you who joined late, we're talking about, can churches do more for singles? Singles, can you do more? Please scroll through the comments and read. People have been sharing, encouraging, learning from each other, unlearning things as well. That's what we do here on Say It Loud. We come on here, share our views on different topics every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. British Standard Time, or GMT, like someone corrected me the last time. it's lovely having you guys come on here. It's a lovely, hearing your views on different things. I'm learning myself. I don't come on here to claim to know it all, because I don't. And I'm sure you guys come on here and you learn from other people's views and perspectives as well. So let me just quickly let you know what next week's topic is going to be. Lord, I am ready. Why the long wait? Have you found yourself questioning God, or maybe dealt with being angry with God? How did you deal with those emotions? And guess what? We are Christians. We're human beings. God created us. We have emotions. Let's not fib about it. Sometimes we do get upset. I'm going to tell you, there was a point in my life I was like, Lord, what's happening? But thank God I'm no longer at that place. I'm just like, Lord, I know it's going to happen when the time is right, when is your time. So let's talk about these things, guys. Don't shy away from it. Let's talk about it. Like I said, our journeys are different. So yeah, I saw some comments on there I wanted to read. Marilyn, I see you. I'm going to let you speak in 2 ticks, but just give me a second. Yeah, thank you, guys. I think it's one we need to talk about, because sometimes, as Christians, we hide away, we try to make out like we're so strong, we don't, but God loves it when we come to Him as children, and you were vulnerable enough, and there's nothing wrong with being vulnerable. Don't be too hard on yourself. Yeah, Phil says churches can't do anything but hold services. It's left for the single people to be honest to themselves, drop their egos, and confess they need partners. That's simple. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Matt, don't disappear in a hurry. Say, see you next time, good people. Got to catch a flight. Well, safe journey, Matt, and lovely to have you here. Okay, Marilyn, do you want to share what you have to say? And then I have a few more things I want to share with you, lovely people, before you go off. And please, please, please start to leave your feedback. How you saw today's topic? How did it go for you? Good, bad? What you want to hear? Next time? What topics you want us to bring to the table? And trust me, guys, a lot of these topics come from the feedback. So please don't wait till the very end to give your feedback. If you've enjoyed it, let me know. If there's anything you want the SALT team to improve on, to do with the app, please let me know. By dropping your feedback, and the SALT team will look into it. Marilyn, take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, you know what would be a very good thing that could be improved? Like when you're on the chat like this, that you could click on somebody, even if it's a woman, and obviously you're not looking for a woman and you are a woman, that you could connect with somebody by clicking on their profile and connect with them and just chat, so that you can grow your Christian community outside of looking for a relationship. That would be very cool. But what I wanted to say, a very important thing to add to the whole church hopping discussion, is that when hopping the churches, I think it's important to first and foremost look for a church that has sound doctrine and that is really really teaching the gospel, and then install yourself there, kind of thing, and then you can I guess keep your eyes out for that prospective partner. But I think the sound doctrine is very important, because if you're just hopping to find a partner, you wouldn't want to be stuck in a church that doesn't have sound doctrine anyway. And unfortunately, there's a lot of those churches springing up these days. So I think that's first and foremost, we need to be able to connect with God properly in a Bible-based church before we can connect with other people. I thought that was a very important point that I just wanted to make.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for that, Marilyn. Thank you
No
for
problem. Thank you.
sharing
God
that.
bless.
Thank you. God bless you too. Guys, I hope you have learnt, a lot from tonight's session. But please, most importantly, I think we should all go out there and do something. When I say do something, do what is comfortable, for you. Do what the Holy Spirit asks you to do. Don't do what Charlotte says you should do. No, no, no. I'm not the Holy Spirit. I'm going to do what He asked me to do. And on that note, I've actually discussed this with the SALT team. For those of you here in the UK, people who know me know I love organizing events. February next year, I'm organizing an event. I'm going to put it out here. When you come on, I know February is a long way away. It's not a Valentine's event. I feel that singles don't even celebrate themselves. Yes, I'm going to organize a celebration for single people. It's going to be in London. So for those of you who would like to know more, please keep coming. At some point, I will share the final details so you know when in February it'll take place. It's not holding on Valentine's Day. No, 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 no. But it's going to be a fantastic event. People who've been to my events have always come away, being blessed. So I look forward to seeing those of you who live in the UK, and anybody who can fly in from Australia, USA. It'll be, it'll be wonderful to have you as well. Okay, guys, I just want to read a prayer I saw this afternoon as I was just doing my research and stuff, and he goes, "Dear Father, your word tells us to be patient and courageous as we wait on you. So, Father, I pray for my single friends who desire to be married. I beseech you, Lord, to show compassion and mercy to us all. I pray that you will grant us our heart's desires according to your will for us. We dedicate our time, our actions to you, Father, and trust that you will give all of us, our husbands and wives, in your perfect time." So, for anyone who desires marriage, I pray this for you. Thank you, Lord. I thank you for the sacred gift of matrimony. Jesus, I know, no, I'm not going to read that bit, but anyway, I know God has all of us in the palm of his hands, and I know that he has not forgotten us. Whatever your desires are, God definitely will meet you where you are